Ethos of Silence.
A veteran podcast aims to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster community support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys.
Welcome. Stuff. All right. Anyways, yeah, I'm not interested in any of that. All right. So we're back with Ethos of Silence. Tim here, 10 years in the Marine Corps, avionics on Harriers. So, smarter than the average Marine. And then I got my co-host Kevin here. Not quite official, but he does enough to
just got to dot the I
to rate us hanging out over here.
How's it going, guys? U.S. Army, 10 years, engineer battalions, essays.
And we could dot the I if my crayon didn't run out of ink.
That's a big hoo. So, what do you want to talk about with me? You want to ask me?
So, here's the thing, right? We were going down this rabbit hole, and I find it extremely interesting of how you've dealt with your transition getting out of the military.
Yeah, so...
Because we mostly dug into mine, so let's jump into Transition 2.0. Let's talk to the co-host.
Yeah.
And figure out what his transition was like, all right? So you deployed to Iraq, the initial invasion, 0304.
03 March, pushed Iraq border.
All right, so...
all the way up through Iraq.
You hurt your back, all the other combat injuries, everything else you've got, and you get out of the military.
It was a year in Iraq, yep.
What year did you get out of the military?
04. October 04.
04. October 04.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. You got out of the military when I got in the military.
Is that right?
Yeah. I was October 04 to October 14. That is trippy. All right. Anyways. All right. So you got out 04.
Yeah.
What's your journey like there? What's your jobs? What was your status of what you have going on? I mean, I'm finding out more and more people have similar stories to you than they do to me, which is mind-boggling.
Isn't that something? Yeah, that's our last guest, Tim Collins, is really just a very similar story. 365 days, in Iraq. We come back, and it's March, and I've got so much leave saved up, I'm out in 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
But the choices now are not 1, 2, and 3, and they're not clear anymore because I'm injured.
Okay.
And I'm hiding injuries. I'm that PT stud that can jump over the building and come back and help and run circles.
Well,
around.
because what happens in the military whenever you don't hide your injuries?
You will get drugged through, not mud. You get drugged through razor blades. You are a shitbag. You're a broke dick.
And you get blackballed from the type of training and the type of things you need to heal.
Yeah.
So since you get blackballed, it doesn't make any sense to go through any of that stuff because it causes more pain to do it.
It's a lot of pain, and it's a dead end.
And I'm hoping, and
back then at least.
But that was the same way when I was in, or the same mindset when I was in. I hope the mindset changes, but I doubt it can because they're not looking for the injured person. They're looking for, if you're injured, we're going to replace you with some young blood.
Yeah, we're not trying to make a hospital out there.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between it. So
it makes sense.
It does. So 04
from a warrior standpoint, from a human standpoint, I mean.
So they did something that made good sense, and I heard about it a year after I got out. And it was called, I think we talked about it, was a Wounded Warrior Battalion.
Yes.
And that made sense. So guys like Banks or me or them, I could have went and said, yeah, Sergeant is pretty serious, and they wouldn't have thought I'm losing a soldier, or I got to fill a position, or there's an experienced person leaving, or the dynamic is going to change so much, or I have to do what the military tells me to do and treat you like this broke person, and you're not making accountability formations. It's a bad thing. So Wounded Warrior Transition Battalion in Fort Lewis occurred in 05, and that's, for those that don't know, it's you've torn an Achilles or ACL or something. You're now put back into an entire different unit, the Wounded Warrior Battalion. You're moved to a battalion. You're out of your garrison. You're out of your regiment. You're not.
I mean, that sounds cool. They're setting up things that are gonna make
kudos to them. That was
all
a great
that
move.
Stuff better.
That was a great move.
Great move. I hope that everything is always moving in a positive direction, and when things do move in a negative direction, they reevaluate and they move forward.
Hope there's some sensibility, leadership.
Change is just so difficult. It takes so much time to implement. The same with it takes so much time to organize the mass number of veterans with getting their information and all the other different stuff together. Yes. So let's jump back into your transition because we curtailed off there to say a little bit, but let's jump back into the transition. I could go on and on about that.
Yeah, I mean, officers come out so quickly, they're not really looking to do what's best for the soldier. That is what it is. So 04.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody's trying to look out for themselves.
Yeah.
You're training with each other, preparing to go to war. You want the next guy to you trained up and ready to go, but you want him there. So you don't.
Yeah, it comes down to the leadership.
Availability is the number one thing.
Right, for sure. And the leadership needs to adopt these new growth into the military because this is something different. I don't know if that was offered back. And I'm saying back, what are we talking, World War II or Korea? If you were injured, did you?
I don't know.
I didn't experience it, but I
don't know.
But what you asked me about, how did the guys experience it? It was a cuss word, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful.
Well, I didn't experience, but I mean, I know people who've done things and they've been blackballed to where like, yeah, you're no longer doing this. We're going to ship you down the road. You're not deploying. You're not doing this. You're not doing that.
You're not a Marine no more. They don't want to hear. A Marine doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
That kills them. Or a soldier doesn't want to hear that. So your life is technically over. So 04 ended out. I'm back in garrison.
Okay.
And the medicines that I was taking out in Iraq to numb me and keep me going, it could have been a combination of anything. Who knows? It could tell me if y'all had any.
Whatever doc was shooting you up with to make the day and make you a viable asset on the battlefield.
Universal soldier on the battlefield. Yeah. That's
the super serum.
That stuff wore off, and I could feel my legs beginning to numb, and I could feel shooting pains down my legs, and
then just give you vials of super serum to make it through the day.
My McCullough was my medic, and she wasn't there, so that was it. I'm back in garrison, and it's a mess there, anyways, and that's a whole nother deep dive. But everybody's back. We're redeploying, and we're readjusting to life and their families, and they're talking about the programs that they need to take and teach them to transition back to dealing with their family and their kids and patients.
You're distracted again. I understand there's a bunch of moving parts on an Army base, and there's a bunch of programs that are there to attempt to help, and some of them are stood up properly, some of them aren't.
Yeah. So I wasn't telling anybody. This was, and again, my dates are a little bit off, but I've got several months left back before my window closes. My ETS, my contract's over, and my window is open, which is where I want to be my entire life. First Special Forces Group, whatever's there. And I'm facing, how do I nail down something that can't be nailed down? It's just like that. So I hide it. I start making medical appointments. I go on profile, I think, maybe for the second or third time in my entire life. I broke my ankle and went on. I wasn't even on profile 3 days later.
Profile, that term means that you're just a medical soldier, so you're
profiled
moved off
out
to the side.
They pick up your paper. What's your profile? Blue eyes, blonde hair. Okay, and you're broke. That's your profile. That's what it says. That's what the doctor gives you is the profile. And they say you can't run, you can't do this, or you can't lift this, and they'll narrow it down. You can't do
light duty shit to
light
say
duty.
The amount of
and
what
they'll narrow
you
it
can
down.
And can't do.
Yeah.
Like nothing bigger than 3 ounces. You got it.
Yeah. So I'm on profile for the first time, and I'm visiting doctors, and these doctors are it's just a blur. It's a place that I didn't want to be, facing an injury and without anyone, kind of being an intermediate to understand where I was going to go.
Yeah,
with
of
this.
course.
So I remember being in Madigan Army Medical Center, and this was one of the stories where some of it was starting to be this is a choice, this is a choice, and this is a choice. And I was looking at doctors putting my x-rays up on board, showing fractures and things. And in Madigan Army Medical Center was a high-ranking, I don't remember, lieutenant colonel, something of the sort.
That don't matter, a doctor.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a doctor. It was It was another patient that had hurt his back and broke his back, and he was there. And Madigan Army Medical Center is really small. There's really small hallways and a really small office. And he could see right into the room of what was going on. You could hear all of my business. But I come out of the office. They rescheduled me to come back, start talking about options, what there was, surgery and this. And this guy's smack right there in front of me. And he stops me and he goes, "Hey," he said, I heard what was going on with you. I live on Gravely Lake. Officers live on Gravely Lake. So he says, "I need you to come by and I want to explain things to you. It's very important that you call me. Here's my number." And she passes me the number, and I go back. And then that evening, I give him a call. "Hey, what's up? Here's my address." He says, "Come on by." Hop in my wheels and drive over to his house. And he meets me out front, and he begins to tell me that what I'm about to tell you, I can't tell you in front of my wife. Let's go take a ride. We took a ride. We turn around and we take a ride in his vehicle. We jump in and we're riding around base, and it just gets quiet. And he goes, "Yeah, the surgery you're about to get, I got 2 years ago." He said that from that point forward, I've wanted to kill myself ever since. I'm like, kill? Like kill? Thinking. And he's like, "Yeah," he says, "I put a 45 in my mouth most often on day." This guy's telling me. And he goes on, it says that they're going to do a surgery on you. They're going to cut your back, and they're going to do one of two things. They're going to either trim the disc on your back, or they're going to put in a synthetic disc. And I'm thinking, synthetic disc? What are you talking about? They're going to open your disc up, take your discs that are gone, put new disc in, fuse you up, and you're going to be off. And he says, "Don't do it." He says, "If you want to ever have a chance of walking again, don't do it." And we rode for another 15, 20 minutes. And we ride back to base, and I've just got a lot to think about on my mind. That's still not a really viable option at this time. Like, okay, I can still say no to them, but then what's next? What do I do after that?
Well, when you say no, your career's over.
It was done. Out of that office, I knew it was over. I knew the pain was wearing off more. I was still relatively young. I was almost 30 or 30 something. And I made a decision that I was going to hide it, and I wasn't going to go back to the doctor. I'm not going back to the doctor. I'm not going to have that happen. But you know what that means in the Army, that there's not you don't go back. You are going back, and or else you're going to fight them, and you'll be that profile guy, and you'll be fighting by yourself for your medical in your life. So more kind of weird things occurred. So when they reschedule and you miss an appointment at the doctor's office, and the doctor's office will call and say, "Hey, Tim Loucks didn't make his appointment today."
Yeah,
so that didn't.
I hear you.
Am I boring you? Fast forward
just a little bit. Not that you're boring me, but the mediocrity of
we've talked about
being on profile. I mean, it's just it's depressing. Yeah. It really is that they do that to anybody. I mean, and it's depressing, the fact of being micromanaged with appointments and everything else. And I really don't understand it. I don't.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. So lo and behold, fast forward, get to the bones of it. I don't re-enlist. I don't re-up. I just walk out with an honorable.
Yeah.
And from that point, I had just entered into a relationship that was very quickly reflecting upon me about a bad decision being made, but I didn't really have anybody. And that person that I was with, bless him, didn't have really anybody in the similarities. But we stuck together, and I got out, and soon I was staying on base for the last 4 or 5 months I had. I didn't have I felt like I was staying there waiting for a decision to present itself.
Okay.
Like what I was going to do. And those months went by. And the last time that I could stay on the base, soon that door closed. And then I moved out to a small rental house that was in a part of Washington. Something that I could afford with my savings.
Okay, so you're renting a little spot in Washington, but you're blowing through your savings because you've got no viable income at this point.
Yeah, nothing's going on. I haven't hit the VA. I tried to pick up a couple of jobs, and I was just so aggressive.
So let's go back to the Army. Was there any type of separation courses, any type of anything for you in 2004?
Yeah. So
when you got out,
there was the last check off when you go through clearance and turn in all your gear. Right after that, there was the last transition thing. I remember it was up near the main gate, and you walk in, you check in, you sign in. We had some forms that said, this is what your resume should look like. And I think either I don't remember if we watched a video or if it was paper.
So basically you watched the video and they gave you a folder that had, here's an example of a resume. Good luck.
And that was it.
And then
it might have lasted an hour.
Then what about your final medical exam?
No.
You didn't get a final medical exam either?
Mm-mm.
So you're somebody who's on profile on their way out of the military. You don't get a final medical exam, and your SEPs and TAPS class at this point in 04 was a simple video and a binder full of reference material.
Nope. We fell off there like potatoes off of a wagon. Anybody's hurt, including myself. So nope, nothing was there. You would think so. That was a very good question. You would think that they would, after we deployed and the first wave back, there would be something set up. What did you say before? You like, we've done this for decades. They should know better.
So yeah, and I know SEPs and TAPS when I took it in 2014 was a week long through the Marine Corps, and they gave us tons of resources, taught us about LinkedIn, taught us about resumes, taught us how to give interviews. We dressed up for an interview day, did a whole bunch of stupid stuff, was told about how a lot of our benefits work, but there were still parts of it that there's so much information out there that I really wish some of these informations and resources would be given to you prior to going to that course, so that, the month before I get out or when I'm going, I've got time to read over these resources and I can ask the subject matter expert who's teaching the course the resource that pertains to me, because this is the path that I know I want to attempt to take first. But me sitting there and listening to all the other resources for all the other paths that everybody else wants to take lets me know that whenever my path doesn't work out the way I think it does, I can possibly change course and jump on what this guy was talking about, because it sounds like this company had a really good program.
That's the way to mimic it, and it's successful.
And then you can be like, cool, well, this didn't work for me. Let me see if they're still doing this or what this program looks like. Let me reach out to this company and see what they're doing and what they offer. I can tell them, hey, look, this didn't work for me. It's not a good fit because of my this, that, the other. I really think this would be a good fit because of this, that, the other. And they either, get you in the program or they don't. But,
it was absolute silence. When I say there was silence, there wasn't organizations, there were not businesses ready, prepared for programs. There were not individuals. I met a lot of incredible people when I served with, and I said goodbye to them and looked at their shocked faces of why I was getting out. They used to call me Command Sergeant Major Gomez because they thought I'd retire from the place. And then I walked out the door with that little bitty course, and I went to go jump right into the world.
Yeah.
And I jumped in, and it just ate me to pieces.
Of course it does, because at that point of jumping into the world, you go from being the man in a unit and having this rapport with everybody to then being another civilian in the grind who doesn't even have a job or a direction to go.
I knew everything I was in the military, everything I had to do day by day, minute by minute. I got out, and there wasn't an up, down, left, or right. There wasn't any way to go. I made a lot of good friends in Army, and after I got out trying to get work, I met a lot of great people that wanted to try and help me. They wanted to try to keep me working or busy or out of trouble, and I was very, very super, super aggressive. But that wasn't our entire unit. And by the way, none of our NCOs that were supposed to be looking out for their soldiers were seeing me and other guys go out and having any kind of what you'd call come into my office and let's talk about your career or where things are going to go. How
any
you're doing.
mentoring whatsoever,
no
or doing hip pocket classes with everybody, and doing any one-on-one mentoring or a hip pocket class with everybody and teaching them some values that are going to be instrumental in them becoming better soldiers.
Yeah, it was absent, but being a combat engineer is tough, and they were losing. Their retention was terrible. 12-year, 14-year veterans I was seeing leaving out, just because they were seeing I wouldn't say passive changes, but they were seeing what I'm telling you and what I'm explaining to you and what many soldiers saw. So yeah, there wasn't that either, even all the way up to the commanders.
So that leads me to something different with the commanders. Normally the commander, you have a outbrief with them. You talk to the retention officer or the retention specialist.
Yes.
And the retention specialist then signs you up to re-enlist or do whatever. And before you actually do it, you have a interview with the command somewhere. Normally it's the commanding officer. If it's not the commanding officer, it's the executive officer. And they talk to you. And they are excited that you're re-enlisting. They're excited you're doing this. What's your career path? What's this look like? What's that look like?
Right.
They even start asking you family questions and everything else.
That makes a great deal of sense.
You never received any of that type of...
Oh, I would have remembered it. No. Our unit, you have to... I'm trying to get you into the mindset of where we were at. And I
don't want to get into the mindset of something
we're already into it.
But
the Marines obviously have a great composite structure about getting their guys.
I'm also talking about the
key.
Marine. I'm also talking about the Marine Corps Air Wing.
Different.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about
Engineers.
the Marine Corps Air Wing. I'm not talking about the grunts. Not talking about anybody else. I don't know how any of those other squadrons operate. Right? We have to talk from a level of experience and knowledge of what we did. I'm talking of what they provided on a air base. I don't know what they provide on Camp Pendleton.
Yeah, so these guys, they weren't in any mindset. Everybody was torn up from the deployment. There wasn't. You asked me about a long-term interview with a commander. That wasn't available. That what it looked like was Gomez is out processing. Sign this off. Go do this checklist. Go do this checklist. It was done. It was done in a day.
Wow.
Does that make sense? So, and you said earlier it doesn't, and it doesn't, and it's just, and it's a revolving door of people coming in and out. There was a great deal of.
Well, I mean, I've been out for 10 years. You've been out for 20 years now. And we are still, and you're still coming across resources that you had no idea existed. And I'm still coming across resources I had no idea existed. And we're trying to build a resource to guide
I just
people
learned the
on
VFW was here just a couple years ago.
Right.
One of the founding organizations. It was 1898 to help veterans. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. But it was barren. There wasn't any way to find a person. Now, my retention officer was the most important thing you spoke about, who was most interested in seeing if I was going to re-enlist. Are you going to re-enlist? What are you going to do? And, of course, I'm hiding it. And no, I'll get back with you. And it was, it was Sergeant.
So it wasn't an officer. It was a specialist who had the title of the retention officer.
No,
right?
he was a sergeant. It was...
yeah, so it was an enlisted person.
It was enlisted NCO. Okay. And he was the only one, which is sad, out of the entire list of officers or people that should be taking care of their soldiers, that was more interested to know what I was going to do with my career. How are you doing? And a great sergeant. I'll think of his name one day. I think if you see me, you know who you are. Thank you. Thank you for being there. And all you
not as much interested in you as in making the chicklets of it, making the hitting the wickets on his billet of being a good retention officer, of retaining a certain percentage of people and going about it the correct way, being a good recruiter. But okay,
sure, I'd totally give him that. Yeah, but he was genuinely, he was a good guy. Was genuinely interested. He was deployed with us.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so he zoomed in on what needed to be done. A lot more than what others were doing.
The guy pulling the trigger generally wants the bullet to hit the target as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I had another 10 in me. I felt like I could have easily gone another 10.
Oh, definitely.
Without
definitely.
it. There's many hats I wanted to wear to find out and discover.
It's playing the cards the way they're dealt, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Playing the cards the way they're dealt.
I got that one. I'm okay. I'm totally okay with that. So here we are. I'm in Tacoma, and I've already, the juice is gone, and the confusion is set in, and I just got married, and
what is this, marriage number 7?
7, like 17 or something like that.
There we go.
But I find alcohol to be the go-to. So,
I'm about to jump back on the wagon, man.
Oh yeah, no, it was awful. It was pull the refrigerator open. There's a beer. It's a beer that morning, all the way to the end.
Yeah,
It's jobs that were failing, aggression with a lot of the employees. It was 7 different medications. There was no light days, but anyways.
That cold beer's the one medication that never let you down.
It was and yeah, I don't know if you're gonna jump into it, but it turned into like this movie of fast life and bars and casinos, and it jumped into an entire different life.
Yeah, man. Sounds like a weekend in Vegas. Sounds great.
Yeah. There was things in between. I mean, we're talking about my injuries, and there's a lot to fill in between it. But
yeah, no, I mean, you're trying to fill the void between your pain, what you have going on, the medication they're giving you that's not worth a damn, the doctors that you're not seeing because you're no longer in the Army, and just everything else that's going on. And you're trying to self-medicate, and you're trying to make it through life and make it through everything else. And I mean, surviving is difficult. Sharing is difficult. Doing it when you're already behind the power curve because the Army left you high and dry, or at least you definitely feel that way. On top of the mental problems,
did.
On top of the mental problems you're having of going from being this elite warrior to now being this person who
I like that guy
who's very, very sad that the 6-pack only had 6 beers.
Right. Yeah, or my 6-pack was leaving. My 6-pack in my. Yeah, so it was it. So I went on to another thing that doesn't surprise you about learning how to deal with the pain, but I wanted to learn how to heal too. So there was a point when everything wore off, and my legs weren't functioning as they should. I'm on, at year 2, I'm screaming and just inside for the pain to stop and to be able to walk straight. And before you know it, I'm on a walker. I've got Paralyzed Veterans of America at my door. Oh, we're going to take care of everything. You have spinal injury. You're going to make a lot of money a month. And a quick note to that, and that's a great organization. I had to refuse that offer. That to me was another door closed on my career, or further away from even getting back to something that I used to be. I even remember walking in like after not being able to walk and getting into inversion therapy and avoiding surgeries and getting better, going to walk back into the office after I'd received my first 30% for my knees and stuff. It's like, yeah, it signed me up. Well, I used to be a combat engineer, and they'd do their paperwork behind the desk and find out who I was. And Mr. Gomez, you've served and you got VA disability, man. We can respect you. And they're walking me out the door, and that's where I wanted. That was the direction I was getting back. But I was still living in society that I basically had to relearn. So
yeah,
I'm learning it, and I'm an absolute. Yep, I was an absolute alcoholic. Sun up, sundown. So
I don't know very many military members during their transition period or during their time in service who didn't.
Yeah. And like Tim said, I wish there had been another one of those guys from Madigan Army Medical Center that had the resources or could have told me more. But
once again, that's why we have to build this out. We have to become the resource for everybody. Yeah, we need to become the reference to pave it forward for everybody to be able to accomplish this and move forward.
Yeah, and I have a great resolve to do that. A lot of people did still help me.
So we're at 30 minutes. We'll go ahead.
Really?
We will go ahead and call this part 1, and we'll pick up with part 2 of KG's transition.
Hey,
you got any words of wisdom?
In. No, I want to appreciate everybody that took time to tune in, and I hope you got something out of it. And really appreciate you being here. Leave some comments if some of the dialogue hits you, or you want to reach out and contact us. Our information is on the front page.
Yeah, man. Subscribe, follow, all the good things. Hit the like. I don't care. Let the YouTube playlist run. Get the algorithm some views. We're trying to build this out. We're trying to become the resource
like and subscribe
that everybody wants. Become the resource that you were looking for. Help us become the resource that everybody's looking for. That's it. Iron sharpens iron, baby.
Take care with
Let's jump into part 2.
Oh. If you need more information on veterans benefits, please visit our website at vfwpost4224.org. That's Victor Foxtrot Whiskey, post4224.org. All of our contact information is in the description of the video. Please email us if you have any questions. We now have a moment of silent prayer for those still in the battle, for our departed comrades, for those missing in action, and for those held as prisoners of war.